James Lowe has attracted a lot of criticism following the first test, especially due to this situation where many people feel the Lions should have scored. And look, no pretences here, they probably should have. But was it all James Lowe's fault? In this video, I will look at the choices that were made and why, dissect the other options that were open to the Lions, and at the end, I want you to tell me which option you think gave the Lions the best chance of a score. Okay, so what actually happened? James Lowe gets the ball, and initially you think, well, that's just a 3-on-2, just pass it. But actually, the Australian defenders drift really well, so really, it is a 3-on-3. James Lowe took in all that information. He decided the best thing for him to do was to back himself to beat Jake Gordon on the inside. He wasn't able to do that, so what other options were available to him? He could have passed it to Tommy Freeman early and back him to beat Tom Lynagh for pace, or give a 2-on-1 on the outside to Dan Sheehan. He could have heaved the long pass over the top to Sheehan. It would have probably been a bounce pass. It was a real long one. Sheehan was hugging the touchline there, looking for a kick pass, I think. And the final option is, once he'd gone at the line, he could have potentially chicken winged it, popped it out to Tommy Freeman, who'd run a short support line. As I mentioned there, though, you must really credit the Australian defence in many ways here for making things as difficult as possible for the Lions as they could. Tom Lynagh's positioning was excellent. He was cutting off the crossfield kick initially, and then he came in and just moved forward a little bit to make the pass to Freeman look a little bit less certain. Would he get man and ball if Lowe passed him the ball? So great positioning from Tom Lynagh. Jake Gordon, his work rate from behind the ruck, getting out and into that defensive line, and then coming up and then drifting, and his tackle technique was superb to lasso James Lowe. So big thumbs up there. And then you've got Potter in on the rip. He just bode his time a little bit, waited to see how things unfolded. As soon as he got in there, ripped the ball away. And Joseph Suaalii as well, who would potentially have held up James Lowe in any case. What else could have happened here? Could Tommy Freeman have potentially positioned himself a little bit better? Could he have been a little bit deeper, a little bit wider possibly, and then just give himself the opportunity to get that pass, run straight, and put Sheehan over in the corner? I often compare Freeman with Hansen. They're different types of players, and this is the type of situation where Hansen excels. He understands all these moments of space and exactly the depth that's required to put other people away. Tommy Freeman doesn't quite have that. He has other strengths, but I suspect if this was Mac Hansen here, he would have been a bit deeper, a bit wider, and he would have been looking to put Sheehan over in the corner. What else could have gone better for the Lions, though? It wasn't all James Lowe's fault, although obviously he was the one that's getting all the criticism. What about the long pass from Jamison Gibson-Park? The ball's in the air for a long time. That allowed the Aussies time to drift. That allowed Jake Gordon the time to get out there and make that tackle. You see him come up initially, then he realises all those people in the front line are not a threat, and he's on that drift immediately. So was there a better passing option from Gibson-Park? What about to Finn Russell? You can see him clapping his hands. He wants the ball. Russell's potentially already thinking of the kick pass. Although it's not a particularly favourable situation, you might still back Sheehan to get up and above Tom Lynagh in the air there. He could have hit Tuipulotu, who could have then carried or pulled the ball back out to Russell again. Either one of these options would have held those narrow defenders. Or he could have potentially hit Keenan just a bit narrower, which again would have given the Lions time to realign, run a bit straighter, hold those inside defenders and potentially pick them off on the outside. The other thing I would say about this set of play here is that the Lions, they look a little bit rushed. And there's one big reason for that, and it's ball presentation. This happened throughout the first half in particular when the Lions had a lot of ball, but the ball squirts out the back of the ruck here. So Gibson-Park has got to make a decision on the fly. He probably doesn't have as much time as he would like to assess all the options. So that's a difficulty. And it was the third time it happened just in these phases of play leading up to this point. So the Lions' ball presentation really needs to be a lot better. The other reason why Lowe looked a little bit rushed/tired was his work rate. He'd already carried the ball once on the other side of the pitch in this move and then worked all the way round. And he was actually the last one to get into position on the open side because he'd done all that work on the blind side. So it was a difficult situation for him to get the ball, to be the one to make that decision. He had the least amount of information. He had the least amount of time to scan. Okay, all those things being said, I still believe the Lions should have scored, but which option do you think was the right one? Do you think option A, he was right to go for it, but he should have just committed a bit harder and scored anyway? Do you think B, do you think he should have given it to Tommy Freeman early and allow Freeman then to pick off the options on the outside? Or what about go to the line and then chicken wing to Freeman late, because it looked like Potter had jumped in as soon as Lowe had committed to that, so Freeman was there on the offload line? Or should he have heaved it over the top to Sheehan in the first place? It may have been a bounce pass, but probably there's enough space out there for Sheehan to get over in the corner anyway. Or option E, do you think it was actually Gibson Park's fault for choosing the wrong pass? There's so much going on just in this one little move, and I love sort of looking at all these details. Of course, this is all just for a bit of fun and to try and understand what was going through the heads of the players at the time. So please keep all comments respectful, but I'd love to hear from you. Which one of those options, A, B, C, D or E, do you think was the best option for the Lions to score? Or have you seen something else? If there's something else in there that I haven't seen, then I would love to hear it from you in the comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up while you're down there. If you don't mind, it helps other great rugby fans just like you find it. And you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. And don't forget to get out and play.